Hello again and welcome to my channel. I'm Fraser from Metalworking in France. I operate a light engineering business here down in southwest France. I've got a little project on today. A gentleman brought me some bits for, well, the top and bottom yoke for a Kawasaki I think it's a VN 900 or something like that. He wants to alter the rake, the steering rake on the forks. So he's bought a top and bottom yoke for a Harley Davidson, and I've now got to modify those bits to fit on his Kawasaki, i.e. he needs a new wheel spindle, front wheel spindle, basically because on the Harley the spindle or the forks are a little bit wider, only about 20 mil, but it's enough that he needs a new spindle here. So I'm going to make that out of stainless steel. Also, I've got to make some spacers for the front wheel. Again, they've got to be slightly longer than the originals. These are the originals, and the new ones are going to be long. I'm going to do all this out of stainless steel. I've also got to make some extensions for the forks themselves, so that they are, because obviously the yoke distance is slightly different because of the angle. So I'm going to have to make some extenders for the forks to make the forks longer by about 50 millimeter. So watch me as we make this job up and see how it goes. I'm going to do some modifications to the yoke as well, or both top and bottom yoke. So see how this goes as we go along. As you can see, I'm boring this top yoke out. It's got to go out at slightly bigger diameter. This is the Harley yoke, but the main spindle on the yoke is bigger on the Kawasaki, believe it or not. So I'll just bore this out so that I can get the bigger size bearing into it. I'll speed this up quite considerably so that it can be seen properly. You'll see it running a bit slower and a bit later on, so you can just see how much material I'm having to machine out. I'm going out approximately 7 or 8 millimeter on the diameter. So excuse the fact that the video keeps jerking to the side slightly. That's just the way the camera works. It keeps trying to pick up on something else. Now I'm putting some telescopic gauges in to measure the diameter. So I'm getting to the right size now. That should be okay. I'll just show you that these things are spring loaded, and then we just let the springs come out, and then tighten the lock nut, and then you can use a micrometer to just check the overall diameter. So I'll just mic this up. See, I must be getting quite close to the size now, I think. So it's not looking too bad, really. Yep, I think we're pretty well there. That's come out quite well so far. Now, as you can see, I'm making up the bush that's got to go into the bottom yoke. It's basically, the bottom yoke is oversized at the moment, so I've just got to make up a bush to pack this down. So again, I'm using telescopic gauges to measure the bore to get this right. So that should take the bearing and the shaft quite nicely. That's coming in quite well actually on the size. We're okay with that. Yeah, I think that size is good. Nice finish inside to take the bearing, and then I'll just have to machine down the outside diameter so that everything fits in quite nicely, and I'll make this bush so that it's slightly oversized on the diameter that I need, basically just so that I can press it in into the yoke so that it makes a good finish. So yeah, that doesn't look too bad at all. Now I'll use the hydraulic press to push this bush into the yoke. As you can see, it's a bit tricky trying to hold it because it is at an angle. So, but it's pressing in quite nicely. I'll just get that down so that it's down to almost level. Put another packing piece in, which is a little bit more tricky. I've had to lift the press up a bit. Basically, the springs on the press don't pull it up hard up onto its shoulder, so I have to lift that up manually. I've got it up there. Push this bush in so it's all nice and flush. That's looking quite good. Now we start the procedure for turning down the front wheel spindle or axle, whatever you want to call it. I'm using a nice piece of stainless steel here so I can get the sizes correct and a nice finish ready for the bearing. Then I'll just cut this thread using the lathe to cut the screw thread. Now I'm machining this again stainless steel so that I can make these extensions for the fork tubes themselves. So because the forks need to be extended by approximately 50mm. These are the parts that go into the yoke, and then I'll bore out the diameter for the fork sleeves themselves. So that's coming on quite nicely, nice finish with a bit of stainless steel. So here we see the finished items all ready to go. Well, there we are. Not a bad little job in the end. Took quite a while, quite a lot of machining and fiddling about with it. As you can see, I've got a top and bottom yoke here for Harley Davidson. A gentleman wants to fit these to his Kawasaki. One of the things I made was a little aluminium spacer which goes underneath the bottom yoke for an oil seal. So that's that bit done. On the bottom yoke, the top yoke, I had to bore this or make a bush to fit in here because the diameter was larger than the shaft that's going through it. So I've had to make a bush to fit in there. So that's fine, that's okay, that's all done. With this piece, the bottom yoke, I had to fit it onto the milling machine, or mount it onto the milling machine at an angle. I don't know whether you can see from there, but there's an angle here. This is not true square to that. So what I had to do, I had to mount it on the milling machine and bore this out to take the shaft that goes in there. So that's all done as well. So that's fine, that's a nice little job. The other little thing, or a couple of little things he wanted me to make, I had to make a new front wheel shaft with 2 new bushes. Basically because the forks are wider apart than his original Kawasaki ones. Consequently, if he mounted them on, his front wheel would be wobbling around inside, obviously. So I've had to make some spacers and a longer front wheel spindle. So that's not too bad in the end, that's come out okay. As I say, the 2 spacers, shoulder spacers that go into the wheel to centralise the wheel in between the forks. Another little thing that he asked me to make, he wants to extend the forks by 50mm. So this is the forks, or one of them, and here's an extension piece which will fit on here. It will press in, and that will give an extension of approximately 50mm, like so. So there you go. There's quite, again, like I say, it was quite a lot of machining. These spacers, everything's made out of stainless steel, so that it can't go rusty, and it looks quite presentable as well. So quite a lot of boring in there. These sizes had to be, obviously, in the two extension pieces had to be exactly the same with the depth and of the length of the extension. Otherwise, it would be laying off at an angle if they weren't exactly the same. So there you are. Not a bad little job. All came out right in the end. Quite a few hours work on it involved, but there you go. That's one of the things. Hope you enjoyed that video. Look out for more videos in the future. and if you haven't already done so, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Okay, look out for me in the future, and obviously look back at some videos that I've made in the past. So in the meantime, I'll bid you farewell. Goodbye.